4 years ago, 90% of the doctors in America use paper for not only for their patient records, but for writing prescriptions, right? So all the files were on paper 4 years ago. And 80% of the hospitals were doing everything on paper, right? So now we've got half the doctors with computers and digitized, and maybe 2/3 of the hospitals, and they're moving rapidly. That should demand savings, right? That's the first step. I can't imagine that we shouldn't be able to find some savings here. Part of our goal with these exchanges is to build relationships, not to destroy them, and to make sure that we work together on this and say, all right, how are we going to begin to control costs to everybody's benefit? So I will get on that. I apologize. That's completely wrong. So we have a new insurance commissioner coming in. I think she's going to start in a week or two. So.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Oh, well, the rail travel community. Here's rumors that you may meet with the governor of New Mexico to save our local train, the Southwest Chief.
Word travels fast in the West. Those telegraph lines aren't down yet. So I made a comment this morning, and when I got up in Trinidad, that was 7:30 this morning in Trinidad, I got the same question.
That's where we get on the train.
Yeah, exactly.
You said that at 7:30.
What I said, I mean, well, I thought this all started with the National Governors Association, and the governor of New Mexico didn't come. And we're trying to think, I was talking to the governor of New Mexico and the governor of Utah, and I suggested, I said, you know, I had a great meeting a year and a half ago with the governor of Kansas and the governor of Nebraska, and we met on the Platte River, just in Kearney, Nebraska, to look at the sandhill crane migration, right, where they get 500, 700,000 birds go through. It's the largest migration pattern of birds anywhere in the world. And they all come there, they stop, and it was amazing. But we also talked about tourism and water, and how can the states help each other and build our relationships. So in the National Governors Association, I was saying, well, let's see if we can get and do, we have a bunch of, in several places in the state, GPS technology companies, right, that do, we call it a geospatial technology, that's what the word is. And so they're the ones who do it, you know, your cell phone tells you exactly where you are within a couple inches now. So they do that. I'm going to get one of them to come down to the Four Corners, right? And we're going to get all 4 governors from the 4 states, and then we're going to find out exactly where the 4 corners are. And I'll bet you $50 to $1 that it's not where they say it is, where they've got the plaque. So we'll use that, come down there, and then while we're there, I thought we'd have a series of meetings in each state. So we'll only walk about 10 feet around the circle, but we'll talk about water and tourism and transportation, because I think we all are connected, and making sure we maintain that rail line is important. I got it.
Anyone else? Yes, back here in this gentleman.
Yeah, Better, your thoughts on the science of climate change and its impact on Colorado?
Sure. I mean, it came up a number of times, and obviously Senate Bill 252, which was very divisive. Again, another issue of, you know, asking the rural co-ops to be a part of of trying to limit our carbon emissions. And I'm a pretty cautious person. You know, I got a master's in geology. I took some climate science, but I have enough of the science to know that nothing's absolute, or rarely do you get that point of absolute. And so I'm careful not to say that the world's changing, that the sky's falling. But when 95% of your top scientists believe that a certain theory and principle is working, it concerns me, right? And I've got some of my best friends, some of the smartest people I know, think it's bunk and don't believe in it, and I accept that. But you know, I don't believe my house is ever going to get an electrical fire. But I spend every year 0.5% of the value of my home on insurance, just in case, right? And if they're right, what I tell my friends who say it's bunk, I say, well, what if they're right though? And 15 years from now, we do get enough data, and we know it is mankind's activities, and we are accelerating the rate of change. Because every climate model I've seen puts Colorado in what they call a rain shadow, right? A precipitation. So we're going to get less precipitation. It's going to come later, and we'll have less snowpack, right? And we have half of the total water storage in the entire state is in that snowpack. It's not just for skiing, right? It allows all those agricultural uses on the eastern plains that a lot of the food we eat throughout the state, we grow ourselves. And it's cheaper, it's fresher, it's better, and it's an economy. It's actually a $40 billion a year economy in the state of Colorado, our agriculture. And I will say that a lot of complaints about the Obama administration, one thing or another, those guys for the last 4 years have busted their backs to try and expand exports. So a lot of that expanding new markets is in agriculture. And our agriculture exports are up. They're almost double in the last 3.5 years. And it's a remarkable success. But that is dependent upon our climate and our precipitation and making sure we have that water even if it runs off later. And I think if you look at the 252, really what it did was and actually Senator Shorts had a lot to do with this, making sure that other, like wasted energy, right? Coal mines, you may hate coal mines, you may love coal mines, but they give off a lot of methane that right now just goes off into the air. And we know for a fact that harms not just the air we breathe, but also does long-term harm in terms of climate change. We should be burning it and making sure we don't have to explore for other hydrocarbons in the meantime. Taking old rubber tires, right, and instead of letting them rot, gives off again all the same kinds of gases, burning them as fuel. And that was what we call waste energy, was that part that Senator Shorts helped negotiate. You know, that bill, which was so divisive, the key to the bill is, and this is hard for people to see, that it only will increase consumers' bills by no more than 2%, and that's not cumulative. So 7 years from now, the bill will be no more than 2% more than what you would be paying if there was no renewables involved. And we've got a whole roundtable, and the language, if we can't satisfy these lawyers in the language type of, the Speaker of the House and the Senate President have committed that they will write stiffer language that people will be protected. But we've got to move in that direction, right? We have to be looking at, and I feel the same way about natural gas. I know I get a lot of flack on this, but it's a transition fuel. It is so much cleaner than coal. And the carbon emissions are so much lower that it gives us, in the next 5 or 10 years, real-time chances to begin to dramatically reduce our carbon. And the real question is, how do we get China and India not to burn so much coal and convince them that they should be doing some of the natural gas as well? Is that good enough?
Yeah, question here and then back here.
Yeah, it's just a follow-up. I read about that Four Corners location issue. What if they find that it needs to move a few miles?
Well, you know what I love? It's what it is, right? It's like Tim, get the facts, make a decision. Check, next. I mean, you can't. I love the fact, and we're going to get one of these same companies who come down now that they get better and better. There are 3 different markers on the front steps of the state capitol saying where is exactly a mile high. Right? And they keep getting, and I love that. I love that it becomes a model that we don't quit, that we continue to trying to find what the fact is, right?
Back here, yes.
You as a business entrepreneur, as a mayor, as a governor, have witnessed a variety of downtown revitalization throughout the state of Colorado, including in lower downtown Denver, the Santa Fe area, and whatnot. Currently, Buena Vista, up north of us, and a bunch of other small towns across Colorado, including Sterling as well, are trying to revitalize their downtown districts to increase their tax base, bring in more people, bring in more business. The key being bringing in more business. What, from your perspective, is the key to revitalizing these downtown districts that are in a tough position right now, attracting people, but they're still, you know, in that, like, how do you attract somebody when there's nothing to attract people with?
Well, I should be asking you guys how you did it, right? Part of it's doing things like creative districts. It's creating a sense of place. One of the things we're talking about with the Office of Economic Development is in these smaller towns you're really just starting. How can we help them take that 1 or 2 or 3 key buildings, right, that have been empty for 15 or 20 years, that kind of are a blight, but if you find a use, put some resources in them, they become a magnet. And you know, we're doing a thing in the spring on the Eastern Plains. I mean, you think it's difficult in the mountain towns. You guys have all kinds of quality of life attributes that they don't have in the same measure on the Eastern Plains, but they do have an equivalently amazing quality of life. And when I first was out campaigning there, I spent the night in Sterling one time. They have all their Little League baseball fields come together. There are 4 of them. And they've got barbecue pits, stands facing. The whole town comes down there. Everyone's watching somebody else's kid play baseball and talking to each other, going from different age groups and around. You know, I don't see that anywhere in Denver, right? Anywhere in metropolitan Denver. And I just said, you know, more people ought to be aware that this lifestyle exists. Because with technology, right, we've got the internet. If you get the broadband capacity, a lot of these businesses can live almost anywhere. So we did a Petaluma Plains last year. We went out to Yuma, that's in northeast Colorado, Yuma over to Ray, then down to Burlington and back. You know, the ride in the Rockies, which goes through Salida sometimes, right? That's a great bike. That's a bike tour. That's a, you know, climb 10,000 feet, you do all that stuff. Pembroke Plains is the bike tour for the rest of us. And we had 1,000 people out there. Some of these people had never seen a living cow, right? I heard this. I'm making this up. And they came out and rode, and to a person, everyone I talked to loved it. And I know of at least one person for a fact that actually moved their business to Sterling. 3 employees. They got all 3 employees that went out there, their families, and they love it. They just didn't know that it existed, right? And the rural folks love having observed people and knocking their socks off and showing them what real quality of life is, right? Where time with your family isn't boring, it's essential, right? You find all these different ways to create spaces where you get with your friends and your family, you get to hang out, and it's not quite so much the same push and pull. I know you guys all feel you're just as busy, as you possibly could be. Your pace is a little slower. Just it's a little slower. Anyway,